All right, everyone, let's just jump into talking about how Jupiter represents higher law. Now, people tend to associate Jupiter with benevolence and charity. And likewise, Jupiter does represent higher law because of that benevolence and charity. So if we look at the tree of life, particularly the Kabbalistic cross, Keter, Malkut, Hased, and Geburah. Hased and Geburah would represent the vice in the context of objective and metaphysical morality. And likewise, the vertical beam of the cross would be sort of a division, it divides it, and therefore it would create virtue, because it wouldn't be innocence per se. So if we look at objective and metaphysical morality in four ways, you have innocence, virtue, vice, and then evil. And so therefore we could say that innocence and vice are in equilibrium, because in innocence you have both the lack of desire and ability. Virgo, by extension, would be a good indicator of this, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury and Jupiter, and both Venus are both debilitated. Venus is actually completely exiled. Jupiter is simply in detriment. So if you know about Venus, then you kind of know where I'm getting at. And I also want to add a bit of a side note. Because of the name Mars being associated with masculinity, the god of war, and by extension, because Mars, the symbol of Mars, is used as the symbol of masculinity. Therefore, we have a bit of a, say, people, a lot of popular astrologers have a bit of a, I guess what you call a slight mistake of associating Jovian traits with Mars. In other words, they're prescribing or ascribing the qualities of Hesed to Gevurah. So if we look at Gevurah and Mars as essentially being desire, willpower, and by extension, aggression and war, if you have conflicting interests or conflicting desires, you're going to get conflict. You could even get war. You could get bloodshed and death. So that's kind of a good place to start. Likewise, Jupiter would be creative. Jupiter is charitable. Jupiter is expansive. And so therefore Jupiter would give Mars the ability to fulfill his desires and to make his desires and his willpower come to fruition. That's good. It's a good place to start. However, I don't want to call Mars him, because Mars is on the pillar of severity and therefore has feminine qualities. After all, women are capable of aggression. They're capable of getting angry. They're capable of sometimes even committing murder. Not that they do it. I mean, it's not something that never happens. But it's a bit of a side rant. So we already covered innocence. Now it's time to cover virtue. So virtue would be the capability but without the desire. An example would be, say, Jupiter in Cancer. Because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, therefore Cancer is a pretty good indicator of this. Cancer is motherly. Cancer cares for the children. Jupiter is creative, and therefore Jupiter would actually represent masculinity in its physical form, and by extension, its creative form. So Jupiter would therefore correspond to male beauty and male attractiveness. And I'll get more into that in a bit. So because Jupiter is the ability to offer his attractiveness to, say, other women, in Cancer, Jupiter taking on that fatherly role, that loving and caring role, he decides to stay and look after his children. Now, obviously, in the mythology, like Zeus and Jupiter, by extension, he never really does this at all. Very little. However, I might just do part 2 to this. So therefore, with Jupiter in Cancer, Jupiter is acting upon, I should take that back. Jupiter has the ability, right? Jupiter is fertile. He is, masculine. He's expansive, attractive. So he kind of just chooses not to. Likewise, that would be Cancer. Cancer would be virtue. The ability, but without the desire. Because you can't be just going around and sleeping around if you want to take care of your family. You want to be loyal to them, do you not? That is if you are the Jupiter and Cancer type. And likewise, you could say that Pisces would be vice, because Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. Therefore, Jupiter is capable. And because Venus is exalted in Pisces, therefore Venus has that desire, just like the desire of Mars, but it wouldn't be like an aggressive desire or, like a conflicting desire, because Venus doesn't have to be aggressive. Venus has the capability of Jupiter. So take, for instance, a thief. If someone has no means of providing for themselves and also they have nothing to offer as far as, products or services go, as a result, they have the only means that they would have of getting money would be to steal. And that would be considered evil. And we could look at Capricorn in that regards. So Capricorn would represent evil. The evil of, it would be the evil of Mars and Saturn by extension. Now, mind you, this is objective evil. This is objective and metaphysical evil. Because the desire of Mars, in which Mars is exalted in Capricorn, the desire of Mars is restricted by Saturn. So Saturn is restricting Mars's capability. Mars has all the desire. Mars has the willpower. But Saturn rules Capricorn. So therefore, Mars is extremely limited in his ability to do so. So therefore, he would have to be evil. There's no other choice. How else is Mars going to get what he wants if Saturn is restricting him? He's going to have to fight Saturn. He's going to have to perhaps even, maybe even kill Saturn, or to sort of, work around Saturn's laws. Saturn governs the law. Saturn governs the law of the land, not the law of God or the law of, the higher laws. Saturn would govern criminal law and by extension civil law. So you could say that because Mars does not have the capability of Jupiter, he doesn't have the strength of Jupiter, he doesn't have the beauty of Jupiter, he doesn't have the creative ability of Jupiter. Therefore, the only way he can get what he wants to fulfill that desire would be to violate the law of Saturn, just like I had mentioned about the example of theft. So I know that, I would say I know for my Pisces example, I think that would be more prescribed to Sagittarius, because Jupiter does rule over Sagittarius as well. And Sagittarius would be more of vice. And you could say that Pisces would be the result of that unrestricted vice. It's just, an example would be if, someone just acts on their whims. They just choose to, do unhealthy things, sleep around, maybe just kind of, it's sort of like if you ask a man, or I guess someone, why, or a woman, I guess, you ask him, why did you cheat on your spouse? And he just said, well, because I'm attracted and I was attracted to them. So therefore we cheated on my spouse, no other reason, even though there's definitely going to be repercussions. They just couldn't help it. They couldn't help but give in to their desires, and they had the ability to do so. So I think that's kind of a good place to start with metaphysical and objective morality. Hope you all enjoyed. If you like it, please hit the like button. If you want more information, if you want to see more uploads and get regular updates, hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Take care. See y'all soon.